Hey y'all, thank you guys so much for tuning into this week's episode of the Worlds of Country podcast. I'm your host, Andrew. On today's episode, I'm joined by Grace Leer to talk all about her musical journey, her time on American Idol, her latest single, Ones Before Me, and her upcoming EP. It was such a great conversation. Hope you guys enjoy this one. Talk to you guys on the other side. Hey Grace, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. What have you been up to lately?
Oh my gosh. I just put out a new single.
So you put out the new single yesterday, Ones Before Me. So could you sort of
Yes.
tell us the story behind that song and how that song all came together?
Oh my gosh. Ones Before Me is such a special song. It was actually the first song that I cut after my time on American Idol. And right after the show, we got into the music very quickly. I was being sent a lot of songs from songwriters in Nashville. And Ones Before Me was the first song I heard. I got the demo and just immediately knew I wanted to cut that song. I knew people needed to hear it, and I really wanted to sing it because I grew up on older country. I grew up on '90s country. I'm very inspired by just older country music, and for me, that song was an opportunity for me to take this song where the lyrics are celebrating all these ones before me, these artists that have paved the way for me as a country artist, and kind of make it my own and put like a modern country twist on it. It was written by Madison Kozak, Andy Skibb, and Kat Gravitt. And yeah, I got the demo and said, I want to go in the studio and cut that song. So we actually cut it almost 3 years ago. It's been a long time coming, and I'm just so excited that it's finally out into the world. So
Is this like one of those songs that you sort of, after waiting so long, you felt like maybe it would never have its moment, or did you always sort of know that it was going to find its way into the world one way or another?
Oh, I knew it was going to. I mean, I've been playing it live for so long, for these past few years. I remember it was a song that I played at the Ryman, actually, when I debuted at the Ryman Auditorium in November of 2020. It was shortly after I cut that song, and I performed it there at the Ryman, which, I mean, what a better place to sing a song celebrating country music at the Mother Church. So I knew it was going to have its time. And so far, the feedback has been amazing. And yeah, I just hope people continue to love it like I do.
So I want to sort of step back to the beginning of your journey a little bit. When did you
Sure.
sort of know that music was going to be the thing for you?
I knew music was going to be the thing for me and the thing I wanted to do for the rest of my life when I was probably 6 or 7 years old. I was very young when I got on stage for the first time and just immediately fell in love with singing, with being on stage, with, singing songs to an audience and having them connect to it. It's a really special gift. And I had parents that were very encouraging about me sharing that gift with everyone. And even though I had a childhood that was very normal, very down to earth, I lived in a town called Danville, California. And there I went to school and I played soccer and I had, friends, and I'm one of four. I'm from a big family, and, and I was singing. So it was always like a balance of all these things that I wanted to do with my life, and I wanted to do it all. But I knew music was going to have its time where I could really give it everything. And it took until after college where I could really give it everything. But I'm really grateful for that time that I was able to just grow as a person. And I bring that into my music and just who I am as an artist.
You sort of feel like having all those other parts of your life going on sort of helped you mature as an artist in a way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's learning life. It's learning, how to balance and time manage and how to work really hard at something, and work really hard at something that you really love. I loved soccer and I loved music in two different ways. And with soccer, it's a team sport and it's very physically demanding. And it was competing for playing time. It was competing against another team. It was having a goal, and you know how do you score goals. I was a forward, so it was like, how do you score goals for your team? And maybe those games where you didn't play as good as you wanted to, how do you fix it? And I bring that a lot into me as an artist and as a singer and as a songwriter. It's constantly working at, working this muscle and working at this thing that I really love and that I want to be the best at, my version of my best. And, it's funny because I don't feel like I'm competing with anyone. I think I compete mostly with myself. And it's just, how do I get better every day? And how do I apply myself and work towards this dream of mine that I've had since I was a little girl. And, I've been able to accomplish some goals this year, but I have a lot. So we have a long way to go.
It's weird. Once you accomplish everything, you kind of get bored. So you got to keep on.
Right. You got to keep going.
So after college, you said is when you really decided to go full throttle towards music. What would you say was that first big step you took?
So the first step that's a really good question. The first step that I took after college, so I moved back home with my mom. And I was pretty lost. I didn't really know where to start. It was always in my head of, okay, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to play soccer. I'm going to graduate, get my degree. And then I'm going to give everything to music. And I just remember being like, oh my gosh, I have no idea where to start. I don't even know, I haven't really written any of my own songs. Yeah, I knew I wanted to do country music, but again, I was in the Bay Area. I was in San Francisco. It wasn't really a place like Nashville where it's everywhere. So I remember though feeling really lost and not really knowing where to begin. And my mom said, you just need to get back up on stage. So this is a funny story. So there was a new bar that opened in San Francisco called Jackson SF. And they were more like, like a bar, like dance club kind of thing, but they were a country bar. They were like the only country bar in San Francisco. They had just opened and I called them and I said, hey, do you guys have live music? And they said, no. And I said, well, do you want some live music? And they said, sure. Can you send us something? And I was like, yeah, totally. And I didn't have anything. I didn't play guitar. I didn't write songs. I had nothing. I just sang. So I was like, yeah, give me a minute. I'll email something over. And so I went on my like garage band or whatever. And I pulled some karaoke tracks. I think it was like probably a Miranda Lambert song and like a Chick song and maybe a Carrie Underwood song. And I just like turned in a few covers of me singing. And they said, yeah, you sound great. Do you want to come in this weekend? And again, I don't have a band. I don't play guitar. I'm like, okay, yeah. And so this is just life being like, you wanted to start, get up on stage and start. So it's so funny. So I did. And I brought a karaoke CD. It's like looking back, it's so embarrassing. I like walked in up to the DJ and I was like, here are my songs. And it was like 3 songs. They didn't have a stage. They had a microphone and they had a fireplace mantle. So I stood up on the mantle as a stage and I sang like 3, I basically did karaoke in this bar, but people loved it. And I loved it because it was like, finally, I'm up on stage singing. And this is my message to anyone who is, chasing something, whether it's music or whatever it might be. Like, you just need to start. You just need to say, it's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be awkward. It might be weird to some people, but it's just how you do it. It's how you start. And then from there, they were like, hey, that was great. Can you come back? Can you do something once a month? Then I found a guitarist because I didn't play. And then we started playing acoustic at this bar at Jackson. Then eventually we had a full band. Then eventually we had original songs. And it was just like, it started to grow and become a thing. And this was my band partner, Kyle Klaus. He said, hey, let's start a band. And I was like, well, I'm not going to start a band. He said, yeah, you're a great singer. I write songs. We'll just start a band. And he had been in bands his whole life. I had never been in a band. So we started the Leer band. And we played all over the Bay Area, just like wherever we could. And I was running everything from, emailing venues and figuring out social media and, running our website and all this stuff. And yeah, we would just perform all over the Bay until finally we did that for like a year. And I was also coaching soccer at the same time. And I was babysitting. So I was just like saving up money, living at home and doing the band stuff. And I turned to Kyle one day at rehearsal and I said, I think we should move to Nashville. And he was like, okay. So 6 months later, we both moved to Nashville and just kind of started over with the band here. And yeah, that's kind of where it all began.
So what sort of adjustment was it moving out to Nashville for you?
Oh, Nashville was amazing. I remember everyone was asking me, they're always confused. Why would you ever leave California? I mean, it's perfect. It's beautiful. The weather is amazing. And, you have an ocean and you have the mountains. It's just, I was so spoiled growing up there. But everyone in Nashville is so nice. And I think everyone who moves here would say that, everyone, not a lot of people are from here originally. So everyone knows how it feels are you from Nashville? Where are you from?
I'm from Florida.
Oh, nice. So yeah, I mean, you moved to Nashville and everyone knows how that feels. So everyone's very welcoming and warm and wonderful. And I remember feeling that way and made friends pretty quickly. But I decided to get a job in sales because I knew it was my first time living on my own. I didn't, I was, paying all my bills and all that stuff. And I knew music was going to take a while. So I said, well, I might as well put my, UC Berkeley degree to use and get a job. So I was working at a sales startup, making 100 calls a day and, really it wasn't what I loved. I remember driving and, going to clock in again and sit at a cubicle in front of a computer and would call my dad and just be like, I don't want to do this. Like, this is not why I moved to Nashville. This is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And everyone just kept saying, trust the process. It'll happen. When it's meant to be, it'll happen, and keep putting in the work. And so I would do my sales job 9 to 5. And then in the evenings, Kyle and I would write songs, or we'd have shows. On the weekends, we would have shows, and just kind of I never stopped. So it was like music was always the goal. It was just a matter of time when it was all going to happen for me. And so 2 years into living in Nashville and kind of doing that grind, that's when I auditioned for American Idol.
What was the American Idol experience like for you?
Oh, American Idol was an amazing experience, an interesting one because of the pandemic. But I just remember that first audition and I knew it was going to change my life. That TV show does that, it just does. It can just send people who, were just living in a small town, never performed on stage, and the next thing they're Carrie Underwood. I mean, it's crazy. And that first audition, if you've watched it, I was so emotional and I was such a mess because you get to this point. I mean, I was 28 and I was thinking it's never going to happen. Like, music is never going to happen. Those doubts and those fears start to set in. But it just took that one audition that I honestly almost didn't even go to. I was so scared and just was kind of like, this is silly. Why am I doing a TV show? I don't need to do this. And Kyle was very, he's like, no, you got this. You're a great singer. They need to hear you. And yeah, I remember being very emotional because I knew something was going to happen. And, fast forward to top 40 performing in Hawaii on the beach, which was amazing. And I got to sing my favorite song, Natural Woman. And I just learned so much from that show. And I think if any advice I would give to anyone doing that show, you just got to be yourself. You got to stick with who you are, no matter what songs, they're telling you to sing, or songs you think you should sing, do the songs and be the person that you truly are. And people are going to see that. And then when the live shows happened and they sent us home because of the stay-at-home order, that was a whole nother adventure.
You chose a great year to do it.
Right? I know. And it's funny because everyone was always like, oh, do you wish that, you could do it over again and maybe actually be able to do the live shows? You guys got, screwed over, blah, blah. And I'm just a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And that was a big challenge for all of us that had to perform from our backyards. But people were sick, people were dying, people were scared. And we were able to provide some entertainment for those that we were all sitting at home, quarantined and on TikTok and doing Zoom workouts. Everyone was adjusting. And we just had to adjust to film a national television show from our homes. So, but we were able to, yeah, provide entertainment, and I still got to do what I loved. I have a lot of family members in the medical field, and, they were off saving lives and, making sure people stayed healthy. So it was a crazy time, but at the end of the day, it was what it was. It's been an amazing opportunity. It has changed my life, and I'm extremely grateful for American Idol.
Do you feel like American Idol was sort of like the key that you had to find to sort of unlock everything afterwards?
Yeah, I think American Idol, it's like I kind of describe it as like a fast pass. All of a sudden you're like at the front, and but you don't know if you're quite ready yet. You're overnight, you make hundreds of thousands of fans, and they want to know who you are, and they want to hear your songs and hear you sing, and it's very demanding. But this is all I've ever wanted. All I've ever wanted when I moved to Nashville, my biggest goal was to do music full time. I didn't care how much money I was making. I didn't care if I was singing in honky tonks. I just wanted to do it full time. And American Idol allowed me to do that. When I got eliminated and the show was over for me, I called my boss and I quit my sales job, and I said, I'm going to figure it out. And then I got a call from Red Light Management, and that's when things really started. And we got in the room with writers and producers, and started creating this EP that's about to come out. But even that, it's been 3 years, since that journey. And that's how long it takes. Even after a show like that, you feel the pressure to put music out right away, and you feel like you need to kind of like keep the momentum going. But that show, it showed a glimpse of who I am. And now I get the opportunity to show people all of who I am. And I'm really excited for that.
I want to get to like fill in the rest of the picture of whatever was left out. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So, what would you say has been some of the bigger lessons that you've learned since you've lived in Nashville?
Some of the bigger lessons I've learned since living in Nashville, it's a place where everyone is talented and everyone wants to do this for a living. And it's down to, are you willing to work at it? Are you willing to put the hours and the time and lean into things like social media that, can kind of be annoying and you can get jaded about, and stand up for what you believe in as an artist and say, these are the songs I want to make. This is the music I want to create. This is what I want to give to my fans. I think those have been some really big lessons, because we all want this. And for me, I want everything. I want to sell out arenas. I want to, play the Grand Ole Opry. I want a Grammy. I want all of it. I'm not like a small dreamer. I'm a big one. And so it's going to take time and patience and just work. And I think there's a lot of talent. But at the end of the day, you really have to want this so much that you're willing to put the work in to make it happen. And another big lesson I've learned is who you're surrounding yourself with, because, for me, I've been very careful, and it's taken me a long time to build this team around me, between my management, my label, the songwriters, the producers, my agents, and we as artists are the CEOs of this business, of my business. I'm the CEO of Grace Leer. So everyone that is a part of it, I'm very careful about. And they all, right now, they are all bought into who I am and what I want and my goals and my values. And I think it's really important to establish those people. Don't rush that. Be really, careful of who you bring on board, and make sure they really understand who you are as a person and as an artist.
That's super important. Some of the stories that I've heard about artists that have surrounded themselves with the wrong people, it's so tough.
Yeah, it's tough because, and I give so much credit to artists who are independent. because I couldn't do it all by myself. It really does take a village to, you know, give you these opportunities, and then it's up to me to capitalize on them, right? But yeah, I couldn't do it alone. So I'm extremely grateful, and I love my team so much.
So you mentioned your upcoming EP. So what could you tell us about this project and the
Oh my
process of
gosh.
putting it all together?
Yes, my debut EP, self-titled Grace Leer, is out September 14th. And American Idol was a little glimpse of who I am, and this EP and everything leading up to it, even down to the music videos, it really is me, and it's things that I've been through. It's a lot. It's a good amount of heartbreak. I wrote it in a time where I was just dating and figuring out life and love, and so you'll hear a lot of heartbreak songs on there. There is a cover song that will be on there, and I haven't told anybody what that cover song is, but I'm really excited for people to hear that one. I had a really fun time creating that with Jared Hampton, who produced that. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a little, country, it's a little, California, Western pop, 90s, it's got a little bit of everything. And I'm really excited for people to hear it. And I just want people to connect to it and not only see and get to know a little bit more about me, but hopefully help them through, whether it's healing, whether it's just to have fun. I want people to feel everything through this record because that's what music does for me. So,
What was it about this mix of songs that felt right to you?
I think the mix of songs, the ones that I wrote are very authentic and real, and they're true stories. I mean, Brought a Girl is a true story from start to finish. It was my debut single about this guy who I was really excited to see, and he showed up to this party and he brought him. And that guy in the music video is the guy I wrote the song about, and it's at the house that everything happened. And it's After One, which is another, very heartbreaky kind of power ballad that's just about that feeling of trying to move on from someone, and it's hard, and late at night and after one drink it's really hard to get through that stuff. Meant to Be is the last one that I wrote on the EP, and again, that's a true story of a guy who ghosted me, and I spent the weekend drinking a lot of red wine and talking to my friends about it and healing from that. And then the ones that I chose, the outside songs, Ones Before Me, I mean, that's the one that's out now. It's about country music that, that I grew up on and that I want to celebrate and pay homage to yet. And that's about, being that person, is about dating someone, and then you guys break up, and then they go on to date someone else and end up marrying that person. So it's just songs that I think that I want people to hear, that I think people need to hear. And yeah, I hope they fall in love with each and every one.
Sounds like there's a good deal of heartbreak in there.
I know, right? And it's so funny because I'm actually in a really happy relationship right now. So it's, you write these songs years before they even come out. So it's funny.
Then you kind of have to put yourself back in that position.
Exactly. I know.
Well, thank you so much again for taking the time for this.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Hey all, thank you guys so much again for tuning in. Hope you liked what you heard. If you liked what you heard from Grace, be sure to go check out her music wherever you listen to music and go give her a follow on social media. If you liked what you heard from the podcast, be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening and go check us out on social media at Worlds of Country on all platforms. Be sure to hit that follow button. We really, really, really appreciate all of you guys. Talk to you guys next week.